A lone figure emerges from the swirling snow, a golden silhouette standing motionless on the deserted road. No bark escapes its throat, yet its gaze pierces through the icy wind, begging for attention. Officer Ramirez slams the cruiser brakes, heart pounding, as the dog turns and limps toward an abandoned cabin's shadow. Moments later, a muffled cry echoes from within. Guided by that silent plea, Ramirez finds an elderly woman trapped beneath a collapsed beam, her strength fading with each heartbeat. In that frozen stillness, one stray dog became the unlikeliest savior, proving that sometimes the smallest act of loyalty can thaw the coldest night. Winter's grip on Pine Hollow was unforgiving that morning, the blanket of snow so deep it swallowed footprints almost as soon as they were made. The dog, its golden coat dulled by frost and neglect, had already learned this terrain by heart, from the alleyways where scraps of warmth once teased its hunger to the icy outskirts where the wind howled like a hungry beast. Hunger and cold had sharpened its instincts to a razor's edge, guiding its every step with purpose rather than aimlessness. As dawn's dim grey light bled through the clouds, the dog sensed something urgent beyond its own survival. It picked up the distant hum of a police cruiser's engine, a sound that once might have meant danger, now held the promise of rescue for someone far more vulnerable. Officer Marisol Ramirez had only recently transferred to the remote precinct, seeking a fresh start after a career-stalling mistake in her old district. She drove the lonely road more from duty than desire, her mind still echoing with regrets. The sudden flash of headlights around a bend yanked her attention from the past, and there it stood, the dog, uncanny in its stillness. Ramirez caught her breath as the dog's eyes met hers, eyes so full of intent that she felt compelled to step into the snow. The engine idled behind her, radio crackling with routine traffic, but everything else fell silent. The dog turned abruptly and limped toward the shadowed tree line, pausing to glance back as though saying, "Follow me." Ramirez grabbed her flashlight and radio dispatched that she was investigating a possible stranded animal. She followed the dog through a drift-covered path that seemed to appear only in memory, the old forest road leading to a stretch of untouched pines. With each step, the wind bit deeper and her boots sank into the powdery layers. The dog pressed on steadily, its gait uneven but determined, never looking back except to ensure Ramirez was still there. The silence that enveloped them felt sacred, broken only by the soft scuff of paws and distant groans of the forest settling under winter's weight. A nervous hope stirred in Ramirez's chest. The dog wasn't lost, it was leading her somewhere. The narrow path opened finally onto a small clearing where an aging cabin crouched beneath a heavy coat of snow. Its windows were dark, the eaves weighed down by icicles like jagged tears. Ramirez approached, heart fluttering with apprehension, as the dog bounded up the steps and barked, sharp, urgent, filled with warning. She knocked on the weathered door, but her knuckles chilled instantly against the frozen wood. Doors to abandoned cabins seldom yield any answer, but the dog's persistence told her this place was not truly empty. She tested the handle. To her surprise, it gave way. The wind rushed in, carrying stale air and the faintest hint of cinnamon from a long cold stove. Inside, the floorboards creaked under her boots. Dust motes danced in the flashlight beam, and the walls, once painted white, had faded to a tired grey. The kitchen table still held a single mug, its contents long spilled and frozen solid. The calendar on the wall marked Wednesday, though outside the world demanded Thursday. Ramirez's breath caught when she heard the faintest groan, a sound so human and desperate it made her pulse quicken. She followed it down a narrow hallway, each step echoing in the oppressive quiet. The dog padded ahead, stopping before a closed door and tilting its head in silent insistence. Ramirez pressed her shoulder against the door and felt it shift slightly. She pushed harder, and it swung open to reveal a bedroom window dimly lit by the overcast sky. There, half buried beneath a fallen ceiling beam, lay an elderly woman. Her hair was a silver halo against the rumpled blanket, her face pale and drawn. One of her legs was pinned beneath the wood, the other splayed at an unnatural angle. She groaned again, eyes fluttering as she tried to lift a hand. Fear gave way to adrenaline as Ramirez dropped to her knees beside the woman, sliding her coat beneath the trapped limb for padding. "Hey, ma'am, can you hear me?" Riz asked, voice firm but gentle. The woman's lips parted and she rasped, "Yes, help." Her words fell in a whisper, laced with pain and relief. Ramirez activated her radio with one hand and braced the other against the beam, pushing with all her strength. The wood creaked ominously, but inch by inch it shifted enough to free the woman's leg. The dog leaned close, nuzzling the woman's hand as if to reassure her that she was safe now. Tears welled in Ramirez's eyes as she supported the woman to a sitting position, wrapping her in a spare blanket pulled from the cruiser. The radio crackled with dispatch. An ambulance had been dispatched to the cabin. Ramirez stayed by the woman's side, checking her pulse and murmuring words of comfort. The dog sat vigilantly at the threshold, not once leaving the spot where it had first alerted Ramirez. Every minute felt stretched, each breath of cold air a reminder that time was slipping away. Finally, the sound of sirens broke the hush, and red and white lights danced across the snow. Paramedics rushed forward, guided by Ramirez's hand and the dog's eager tail wag. They moved swiftly, lifting the woman onto a stretcher, securing her for transport. As the ambulance door closed, the dog slipped past Ramirez and trotted around to the front of the cruiser, sitting dutifully by the open door. Ramirez watched as the paramedics drove away. The patient's muffled thanks carried on the wind. She knelt to stroke the dog's head, feeling the coarse fur under her fingers. "You led me here, didn't you?" she whispered. The dog leaned into her touch, its eyes reflecting gratitude rather than fear. In that moment, Ramirez knew she had found more than a stray. She had found a partner, a guardian whose loyalties are past any training. The days that followed brought warmth back to Pine Hollow. News of the rescue spread quickly. Neighbors spoke in hushed, reverent tones about the year's no guardian. Local news crews arrived, cameras trained on the dog's gentle face and Ramirez's steady gaze. Yet, amid the sudden attention, the dog remained unchanged, silent, watchful, unassuming. Ramirez found an old collar at the station, fitting it loosely around the dog's neck, the tag simply reading a guardian. Each morning, the pair patrolled the snowy lanes together, Ramirez at the wheel, guardian perched with grace on the passenger seat, ears perked for distress. When the elderly woman, Emily Dawson, aged 82, returned home with a walker and a heart full of gratitude, she greeted Guardian with tears in her eyes. "I owe my life to you," she murmured, kneeling to pat his head. Guardian wagged his tail softly, as though offering thanks in return. Ramirez watched them, feeling a gentle warmth in her chest that no patrol corps could ever provide. She realized her transfer to this quiet town had been a blessing rather than a punishment. It led her to moments that mattered, to a purpose beyond the uniform. Life in Pine Hollow resumed its gentle rhythms. Children waiting at the school bus stop called out cheerful hellos to the pair, and elderly neighbors waved as they walked by. Guardian's fame grew, but he never sought spotlight, only that next silent call for help. On clear nights, Ramirez would find him gazing toward the forest edge, ears tilted as though listening for someone in need. And Ramirez, once haunted by her past mistake, now walked those roads with renewed purpose, her eyes open to the small miracles hidden in the snow. Months passed, the harshest winter on record finally thawing into a tender spring. The pines dripped with fresh buds, and the once frozen creek sang a new song. Guardian chased butterflies along the banks, his golden coat gleaming in the sun. Ramirez stood beside him, hands tucked into her coat pockets, watching the ripple of life in the hollow. She remembered the morning they met and marveled at how a single act of loyalty could shift the course of so many lives. In that moment, she understood that heroism often comes in quiet forms. No ceremonies, no medals, just a dog's unwavering stare and an officer's willingness to follow it. And so Pine Hollow learned to listen. Neighbors checked on each other, children learned compassion, and Ramirez, once seeking redemption, found a calling that no mistake could erase. Guardian remained by her side, ever ready, ever watchful, proof that sometimes the loudest rescue is delivered in silence, beneath the drifted snow by the heart of an unexpected hero.